Hello. Welcome to episode number 73 of CXO-Talk. I'm Michael Krigsman, and I'm here with I'm always trying to think, I lie in bed at night and I think, what kind of superlatives can I say about my amazing co-host, Vala Afshar? I think about that.
Thank you, Michael.
Vala, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Vala, it's
very nice to see you.
It's good to see you. So we did a fist bump that time, and it's no longer a kind of remote fist bump because presumably there's a camera right there now.
Yeah, Wednesday we were at CIO Magazine conference, and we were on stage doing a live CXO-Talk. I think that's the first time we actually had an audience see us fist pump,
or shake hands.
Or shake hands.
Let's do a handshake.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. All right. Good. Thanks.
But anyways, we are here with a very interesting guest, Ganesh Bell, who is the Chief Digital Officer of General Electric Power and Water, as well as the General Manager of the GE Software and Analytics Group.
Hey, Michael. Thanks for having me. Hey, Vala.
Great to have you. We hear so much about Chief Digital Officers, and it's just wonderful to hear General Electric Power and Water, they have a CDO. So please talk a little bit about the company and then your role at GE.
So, GE, as you all know, is a one of the leading industrial collection of companies, right? We have a lot of industrial businesses, and Power and Water is the largest industrial business. And the simple way to describe our mission is, we solve one of the most challenging and most important problems in the world, which is providing clean, sustainable, accessible power and water technologies to every single person in the world. And we believe that the most complex problems and the biggest opportunities stem from access to clean power and water. So that's really what Power and Water does. We have about 6 different businesses, everything from power generation, products and services, to renewable energy, to nuclear energy, to distributed power, to water and process technologies. And at GE, we also have GE Software, which I'll talk a lot about, which powers the platform across all of these businesses. And my role as Chief Digital Officer and GM of Software is twofold. One is to go drive the digital transformation of all of GE Power and Water, as well as build our digital solutions business for Power and Water, and also drive our digital customer engagement to our customers.
So it's digital transformation and customer engagement. And
yes.
We hear a lot about digital transformation.
I know,
so,
we can't even figure out, we're still trying to figure out what that means.
No, I can.
You can?
No, but we have a guest here who can speak
Well,
to
maybe
that.
he can tell us, because I'm still trying to figure this out.
No, I'm kidding. Michael is in the dark. I know digital transformation.
I am Michael is in the dark.
Michael, I think you should just interview Vala.
But no, Ganesh, please help, because so we have marketeers that watch CXO-Talk, and when we hear digital, a lot of people think that this is a marketing thing. And then, of course, we have CIOs and CTOs and others. But your definition of digital and then digital transformation.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, which is, digital means so many different things for different people. And I kind of go back to about 4 or 5 years ago when I was starting to sort of form my belief system around what is digital. Mm-hmm. And I think one of your earlier guests, I don't know how early he wrote it or somebody else wrote it, there was a word that was being bandied about, and I think Dave McDonald, he's at Accenture, right? He talked about digitalization, not digitization. Digitization is about replacing atoms with bits, right? So for analog businesses to become a digital business, but when you become a digital business, there's 2 ways to do it, right? You can either just transform what was done in a physical world, where books become e-books, forms become portals, and that's simple digitization. We've already been through that transformation, right? Digitalization, as the word that Mark coined, is about creating value and revenue from digital assets. And when you think about that, at the same time when I think Mark Andreessen wrote "Software Eats the World," which to me was about how every business becomes a software business and how every product becomes a software-defined or software-powered solution, you also had every management, consulting, and marketing company talk about digital transformation, where it was primarily about digital marketing. Right? At the same time, we also talked about consumerization of IT, where our consumer experiences were driving what we do in our real world. So I kind of see that as all connecting the thread across all of those things is really the full picture of digital. So it is really, yes, it is about digital marketing. It is about digital products. It's also about how we work. And so it's a connection of all those three things.
So you're really talking about the business changing, adapting new business models, changing its culture. It's kind of a revamping, a disruption of the business by itself. Is that correct? How you see it?
That's absolutely right. And if you're thinking just marketing as a transformation, then the CDO role is really about a digital marketing technologist and eventually eating marketing, right? But when you think about a full digital transformation, it is about new business models. It is about new revenue streams. It's ultimately about creating new addressable market, and it's ultimately about providing new customer outcomes. And the one way to think about it is, I say, like, in every company, we all work to create products and services that are our offerings that we market, sell, and engage with our customers. And to truly go through a digital transformation, you have to transform all three, meaning how we work has to become digital. And that's consumerization of IT, moving to cloud, mobility, and adopting collaboration, all those things that modernize how we work. And in our products and services, you've got to transform that to digital products. In some cases, you're not just replacing, atoms bids, you're augmenting it. There's digital extensions of your physical products or connected experiences or new solutions and software offerings. And in how we market, sell, and engage, you still have to drive that digital engagement. And most people end up focusing just on the digital marketing and not really about digital solutions and how you work internally. And when you connect all those things, Michael, as you said, you really transform the entire company. It's a new DNA, it's a new muscle, new skills, and driving new business models.
So when you say how we have to work has to become digital, is it the combination of, so for example, if you're a salesperson at GE on the road can pull up their smart device, access your CRM, capture analytics, and collaborate on a social network, is that working digital? Is it a combination of mobile, social, cloud, apps, data that makes it digital?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Vala. That's how your workforce is distributed. They're mobile. They're with the customers. Right, you're in environments where you don't have access to your desktop, and we have a vision for a field engineer of the future, where it's really about you're a field engineer out in the field wearing wearables, right, like a Google Glass, and you can pull up all your information, and it's about delivering outcomes to the customers. You're not carrying a thick binder of manuals to work on a big turbine. All the information you need is right there, and you can phone home to an expert, and you can have a chat while you're out there in the field. Now that's digital work, absolutely.
How do the way that we're talking about it is so all-encompassing, and as somebody who's in the middle of this, how do you break it down into manageable pieces so that you don't throw the business into turmoil while you're kind of experimenting with all kinds of new ideas?
Yeah. So what we did in GE, right, which is I think the way to think about it is I kind of break it into three parts: digital work, digital solutions, and digital engagement or digital customer engagement. So you actually have manageable chunks on things to focus and priorities to set in those three buckets. And digital work is really about our IT driving that strategy, right? So IT modernizes us, so IT is driving that. That's where my CIO is a big partner for me to go drive the digital work transformation within the business. And when it comes to digital solutions, yes, you're right. If you don't plan it right, you can, have different teams work on competing products and solutions. So it's really about first building a portfolio of offerings that you want to take to market. And how we started in GE with this digital solutions or products is really first responding to our customers, right? Our customers wanted outcomes. They wanted no unplanned downtime, lower operating costs, and major productivity gains. We responded with a big billion-dollar investment in software. We created GE Software, which is really about, first and foremost, building our industrial internet platform. And that's what everybody else would say is IoT plus big data plus analytics plus cloud, all coming together in the context of industrial software, as well as connecting that to machines and communications back to our cloud. So we responded with that investment and building out our platform. And on top of that platform, we're focused on the various businesses to go build our portfolio of applications. And so that's kind of, we set that up as a separate unit so we can actually collaborate across the different businesses. Because the common thing you need across all of these is the horizontal platform. So GE Software was created so it doesn't disrupt the businesses. It's actually building out the platform. And in collaboration with each and every one of the industrial businesses, we're building the various applications to take to our customer outcomes. And similarly, in digital customer engagement, we've got a dedicated team that's driving the transformation of everything from web, social, mobile, revenue marketing. So it's setting priorities and driving a roadmap across digital customer engagement and digital solutions, while IT actually transform how we work internally.
How close did you work with your chief marketing officer? You very well defined or the working relationship with IT, but where does marketing come into play? Because often the perception is that the CDO has one foot in marketing and one foot in technology and IT, and the person that essentially is the glue between the different lines of business, business and technology. So I'm interested to know your working relationship with the marketing function.
Yeah, so in GE, we've got a great CMO across GE and Beth Comstock who provides us a great brand umbrella, if you will, and the permission to engage with our customers at so many different levels. And when you come down to the various businesses across the marketing and the communications function, they are our best allies in the digital transformation because even without the creation of this role, they're going to want to get there, but they need skills and the new muscles and the talent, right? So we're incubating digital customer engagement, for example, in power and water, centrally across all the different businesses, and providing this as a shared services to the various marketing and communications team within the businesses, so they can actually get on the platform of digital engagement stack. And when I say a digital engagement stack, that's everything from how you connect your Salesforce automation to sales productivity tools to revenue marketing activities to social and content management and storytelling activities. So we're building that as I call it a stack because that evolves really fast and you got to keep changing because today it's Twitter to promote and LinkedIn becomes very important, and then different medias like Medium becomes a very good place to go publish content management and stories. So it's evolving that stack and keeping that fresh, but helping our various businesses get on board on that stack and tell their stories. So marketing and communications becomes a great partner, and they use the shared services in driving the channel of digital.
In this centralized model, so IDC is projecting that in 2 years, marketing's 50% of program spend will be technology spend. Mm-hmm. So at GE, does the marketing organization have program tech spend, and they consult with yourself and your organization in terms of procurement and the right solutions to bolster the platform, or does that sit with you?
Yeah, so it sits with me, but in collaboration with the marketing and communications organization. They are consumers of that platform. Okay. They are driving the requirements, and we have a large community of digital marketing people. In fact, last week we just had a digital summit internally in GE of about 300 digital marketing people across GE and Manhattan, and I talked to the team about how we're driving a common digital engagement stack across the various businesses. But they drive the requirements; they are the consumers. But it's also about incubating and showing. So we brought a lot of vendors in externally and external speakers to kind of influence the thinking. So it's really a journey that we're all on across the board.
Great.
Wow. I think my friend Satya Krishnaswamy from Next Principles was at that event.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I'm an advisor.
I've worked with Satya in the past.
I'm an advisor for their company. So basically, then, in a sense, what you're saying is when you have this type of centralized model where the impetus for that change, or the direction, let me put it that way, for that change is coming from a central place. In effect, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm misinterpreting this. So in effect, what you're doing is radiating out to then try to coalesce culture change throughout, on a decentralized basis throughout the organization.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to say it, which is radiating the culture change, because we have great leaders, and you know, if you look at our business across the top, from Jeff Immelt, our chairman, to Beth Comstock, who's our CMO, to Jamie Miller, to Bill Rue, who drives all of GE software with a vision for how we transform, you know, building a digital business and delivering more outcomes to our customers. There's a very strong believership across GE in digital technologies and how digital drives the transformation. And in Power and Water, the group CEO, Steve Bowles, believed in that transformation power of digital and what it can do for the business. So he created this role centrally reporting to him. So my peers are all the various CEOs of the different energy businesses, like nuclear, distributed power, and so on. But they all have big, large P&Ls to go drive and customer outcomes to go deliver. So my role is to create new offerings and solutions that help them deliver new outcomes, right? And so partner with them, help them get to a better digital customer engagement with their customers, and also increase their portfolio with new digital solutions that our sales teams can take to our customers.
Can you talk a little bit about your agenda for, you know, the next 1 to 2 years, or maybe the next 12 months? Who knows where we're going to be in a couple of years, given the you know, the velocity of innovation. But what are some of the big digital transformation projects that excite you and your team as you look forward?
Yeah. So one of the big things for us, you know, I talked a lot about digital customer engagement. For us, that's, you know, getting all of our businesses to you know, our customers are becoming more digital, and understanding the customer journey and mapping our customer journey and helping our sales teams actually work with our customers in delivering outcomes. So that's a roadmap we have for digital customer engagement, which is building out the stack, engaging with our customers across social, mobile, video, storytelling, and having the voice of the customer. So ultimately, it's about making sure our customers are empowered and making their own decisions, and we help them, right? And similarly, the next equally and probably even bigger in one way from an investment perspective is our digital solutions portfolio. And that's, we have our Predix, which is our industrial internet platform, and we are bringing to market new solutions and offerings. And we already have many today. We have proof points. This is not just a vision. This actually works today in our power and water business. For example, we have launched several products that are powered by our Predix industrial internet platform, and we call these solutions predictivity solutions. These are our family of applications that we take to our customers. And we have two products, one that we call Power Life Max and Flex Efficiency. We launched these products last year, and we really created these products as a combination of software and hardware upgrades to kind of like rejuvenate the life of an existing turbine and increase energy output as much as 10% and save fuel and deliver, increase lower efficiency in, in energy emissions and so on. And those products have been pretty successful for us. And similarly, we've done products in our wind portfolio. It's called Power Up. And what that allows us to do is our customers to, instead of just putting new wind turbines on the ground, increase the output of the existing wind farm through software, which is equivalent to putting 5% more wind turbines on the ground. So it's about building that portfolio for us is a big priority. So we have new products that will be coming over the next year that, if you think about it, over time, we're collecting data from all of our machines in our monitoring and diagnostic center. From that, we're able to now provide conditions-based maintenance, real-time operational intelligence, asset optimization, performance management solutions, as well as operations optimization. So for us, the priorities at a high level, I would say, is from digital solutions is to build out the portfolio of the outcomes that our customers are demanding in terms of there's no unplanned downtime, lower operating costs, and productivity gains through a suite of software. And we have our Minds and Machines event coming up in the next couple of months, so we'll have some announcements there. in terms of new products that we bring to market that deliver that outcome. So next year is delivering on those new portfolio software launches, as well as increasing our digital customer presence and engagement.
That's amazing.
So what's so fascinating to me is General Electric is obviously a major industrial company, and here you're using data in order to develop your products, figure out better ways to deliver the outcomes that the customers want, and so forth. And so if I put the pieces together, then the other side of it is this kind of retooling, not just of the products, but retooling of the way people think about the products, which then leads to the culture change that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And a good example of that is one of the products that I mentioned, which is our LifeMax, Power LifeMax and Flex Efficiency products. We created those products based on about 100 million hours of operating data from a gas turbine. And when you think about data, I just tend to sometimes give context of the scale of big data we're talking about. A single blade in a gas turbine can generate up to 450 gigabytes of data for us. That's more data than most users generate in over a year on Facebook, right? And all of that data actually tells us something about, because we understand the deep physics of these machines, right? We built them. And from there, we can actually drive not just how we build the next version and the improvements and the software upgrades and the embedded controls upgrades, but from there we can also figure out how our users a plant, an asset manager or a plant manager uses the assets and help them achieve better operational efficiency by driving new software outcomes. And so it's really going from being data obsessed and data centric and data driven to building better products to actually using data to power new solutions and providing new offerings.
So the D in your title could easily be Chief Data Officer, because as I'm listening to you, it feels like part of your transformation strategy and roadmap is built around leveraging data to create insight to help deliver better outcomes for GE, your employees, and your customers.
Yeah, so we definitely have a lot of we've invested a lot in software, first of all, and data scientists. Here in San Ramon, GE Software, we've got about 1,000 people.
Focused 1,000 data analysts, 1,000 data.
1,000 software engineers, data scientists, product managers, focused on creating software, right? So in one way, GE is, yes, one of the largest industrial company in the world. We're also one of the largest software company in the world. And we've been using software. There's already probably 20,000 people across GE who use data, software, and analytics in various shapes to improve our products and services and also provide new offerings to our customers. And we created GE Software where we wanted that focused discipline of building that industrial internet platform. So we built about a 1,000-person team, and we're continuing to grow across everywhere from software development to architecture to product to user experience and design. We've built a great design center, as well as invested in the data science practice across GE. So there's a lot of talent across the business in terms of how we use data, not just for operational efficiency, but designing better products, but ultimately about creating new analytic application software offerings to our customers.
Now, you have said that your division's data efforts are focused on three things: digital effort, how you create products and services, and how the products and services arrive through digital engagement. Can you elaborate on that and tell us how these pieces fit together?
Sure. So when I think about, I talked about, we all work to create products and services that we market, sell, and engage, right? And I said all three of them had to become digital. So for work to become digital, IT drives that with an agile IT infrastructure. For products and services to become digital, we had to create new apps. Simply, where is my app for a turbine to lower the unplanned downtime? Where is the app to lower the operating costs? And where is the app so I can connect that to external market data and increase profitability of our customers? So all of those are new categories of enterprise applications. Very similar to IT, because we're seeing the convergence of IT with operational technology. It's in digital solutions, we have Predix as our platform and creating new portfolio of solutions there, right? And so we have a digital solutions organization, which is structured very similar to any software company structured, with looking at market outcomes and customer outcomes and co-innovating with our customers to actually bring new software-powered solutions to the market. And how we monetize that is different in different scenarios. Sometimes we monetize, like I mentioned, our wind portfolio power up. That's an outcome we deliver to our customers, which is increased performance of a wind turbine. Or our wake management software, which helps customers manage the entire wind farm operations by lowering the power output of the wind turbines up front by increasing the power output for the wind turbines further back, because you're optimizing the entire platform. That's a new suite of software, but we deliver it as a new business model in terms of a outcome pay per performance basis, right? And building out that suite. And in digital engagement, like I mentioned, the way we're driving that is assembling and building out the digital engagement stack and creating new, everything from our websites to how that connects back to our sales tools, to our customers, being empowered with new sales enablement tools, as well as stories from their peer groups so they can get educated about the new outcomes they can go deliver.
It's amazing. We couple of CXO talks ago had Dr. Michael Wu, Chief Data Scientist for Lithium, as a guest, and he talked about, let's look at the data scientist role and break it into, competencies of infrastructure, analysis, integration, and reporting. And, so he said, we generically use the data scientist, but there are core disciplines required in the enterprise to deliver, meaningful insight to the business. You talked a little bit about these scary large volume data that you manage. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then, do you have data scientists in your organization as well as IT and marketing, or is that function centralized as well?
Yeah, sure. So I think data, you touched upon, which is chief data officers. We see that title, rising in various businesses, right? And I kind of define that as nobody in the enterprise owns the data. IT owns the infrastructure. The various businesses own the data within their various applications. But when you think about a data-intensive business such as ours, where we're collecting data on our machines and their performance, it is an important asset from which we can drive better outcomes for our customers. So we are creating in the process of actually creating those types of roles where you have somebody responsible for data, but they look at data as a strategic asset on all the different use cases. Everything from engineering, product design use cases, to creating new software and analytics that extend all the way to customers, so they get visibility, insight, and action into how they run their operations, and also in marketing use cases. So we have data scientists, and we have a data scientist center of excellence, if you will, in GE Software, where we have a group of data scientists who focus on creating the deep algorithms, data science frameworks for our machine-based intelligence, working with our global research center. And within the businesses, we have people who own the data for the various businesses, everything from our monitoring and diagnostic center data to our enterprise data, connecting that, as well as our customer engagement data from our website to our marketing, and pulling all that stuff together. Because data is always going to be a chaos, and somebody's got to just manage that for the different use cases. So we drive programs based on the various use cases, and having data stewardship to make sure that we actually always view data as a strategic asset with the eye towards how we can deliver better outcomes for our customers.
We have a really interesting question from Twitter from Boris Ball, who asks, what is the main difference between the CIO and CDO at GE?
So the way we've defined it in GE is, I think how most people are defining it, which is the CIO focuses on, the internal IT infrastructure of the company, and everything from ERP to CRMs to enterprise applications to moving us to cloud, modernizing our IT infrastructure, to our mobility, to employees. It's ultimately about employee productivity and business process support, right? And you become a business that also provides a digital solution to the market. And this is where the definition of CDO changes in different businesses. And I know, Michael, you asked the question once, is CDO a temporary title? Right? If you have a focus on just digital marketing, yes, it could be a temporary title or the new title for digital marketing, right? If you go deeper and look at when your business has to provide a digital solution and an offering, you need a CDO because that's more of a GM of a software, which is another title that I have, is to run the software business. And that's more of a general manager role than a typical CIO role. It's not a system integration role. It's actually building software just like any other software company and taking that software and bundling it along with our hardware and our services offerings to our customers. So it's a whole solution of software, hardware, and services to our customers. And that's where probably the biggest distinction happens in a CDO is in a business that has digital offerings. And you can think of fully transformational business where you can see a Netflix where there's no need for a CDO. The entire business is digital. But if you want to maintain a physical business and have a digital business, the CDO is I believe it is the role where you run that as a business with a new business model. And it's really building a software company in a way.
You know, as you're going through this transformation, which, you know, I suspect is not a destination but a journey because it is so complex, so integrated, so volatile in terms of new technologies, whether it's, as you mentioned, wearables, Internet of Things, and big data, and who knows, a couple of years we'll be talking perhaps about something else that's not on most of our radars. You know, what metrics do you look at along the way to make sure you're not drifting away from your goal of building better products, better services, and actually delivering value to your incremental value to your customers?
Yeah, so you know, like I mentioned, in our world, right, it's we originally started this journey with customer outcomes, and our customer outcomes are very, very clear, which is we call it, you know, things like I mentioned repeatedly: no unplanned downtime, lowering operating costs, increasing productivity for our customers. And that's always done. In the past, we did it just through hardware and engineering and long cycles, and then through services business. Now we're able to provide those outcomes with a combination of software, right? And so staying true to those customer outcomes and understanding, you know, we built a great design center where we actually bring in our customers and co-innovate with them and identify new opportunities. So we're actually building software with our customers. So it's no different than how a typical software company goes through a pilot, gets the first 2 customers up and running, and staying focused on those outcomes, versus just trying to create a dashboard for them where they cannot create any actions from that, right? So it's really about creating, you know, if you stay focused on the outcomes, the portfolio of products you got to create, rationalize themselves, they become small, they become simple, they become consumable.
So on this question of metrics, we have another, or on this topic of metrics, we actually have another question from Twitter, from Arsalan Khan, who says, data is a strategic asset. And so how do you value it in financial terms so that the CFO gets it?
Yeah, I think the way the CFO gets it is, you know, like I said, you need proof points in what you did with the data for customers, right? And like I mentioned in our example of our previous one of our products, which is the Power LifeMax product, which we designed using 100 million hours of operating data from our gas turbines. We actually delivered real outcomes, which is 10% of energy output, saving $600 million in fuel, right, and boosting revenue of $1 billion. That's the potential of the data. So it's just like an addressable market, right? And we have a simple math that we, our chairman talks about the power of 1%, which is if we just save 1% of fuel across our entire gas turbines, that's $65 billion over 15 years. Those are huge numbers. And the only way you can get to those outcomes is through understanding the operational data. So if you think there is one, the metrics on the potential of what you can do with data in terms of, outcomes and value that you can generate for customers. And the second is, with that data, what are the new solutions that we can create, which becomes addressable market and revenue for us. And also driving how we take the various machines or assets that are connected to our platform, to the volume of data that's connected to our platform, to creating a portfolio of applications. So for our CFO and our finance, it's really understanding that GE luckily has been data obsessed as a culture for a long, long time. And except we have been focused on the machine data and how we build better machines. In the last 5 years, we're driving that data to how we drive better customer outcomes. And that creates new opportunities for us. And we're able to quantify that with real customer value that we're generating in terms of fuel savings. And we can actually calculate what does enough time mean. When you lower the, reduce the unplanned downtime, what is the value of that to a particular customer? It can be easily articulated and defined working with our customers. And eventually, when you connect that data to external market data, we can actually help our customers make more money.
Wow. So as you're going through the transformational journey, or anytime you're introducing any level of change, based on my personal experience, the success factors, it's always culture and people, process, and lastly, technology. So what are some of the impediments as you're making this, these, transformational changes across an incredibly large and diverse organization such as GE?
Yeah, so first you need leaders who believe, right? You need leaders who believe in this transformation and the power of the transformation, and leaders who have a vision for, so we have that with a great leadership at GE, and we also have a great culture which, embraces those ideas. This company has a history of reinventing itself. So, being there and having done that several decades, this company has that DNA built in, so that is a big, big help. But also it takes people, you need to think about it holistically. It's not just about, like I said, it's not just about digital marketing. It's not just about, building software and analytics and providing a dashboard to a customer or transforming IT. You've got to be able to connect all of these digital threads together. But when you think about and what we have done, we did make certain decisions, like building software is, for example, while we have been investing in software in the past, we've been doing software. GE's been building software for a long time, but they've been in the embedded control space, for example. Sure. Right? So when we think about new types of software that's customer-facing software that requires new skill sets, new muscles, as well as new technologies that don't exist. So we created GE Software. We created an ecosystem of partners. We created the Industrial Internet Consortium of leaders in the industry to come and work with us and shape that outcome. So it takes a holistic thinking where it's not just internal, but you start thinking from market and customer-driven outcomes, and then creating that ecosystem, creating that platform. And we've been doing that. So I think it takes any company that embarks on this journey has to think that. Has to think about the ecosystem of software vendors you got to work with and the other hardware vendors you have to work with. And when it comes internal, you've got to create the mandate, and you have to have a culture of going towards a lean startup, agile mindset. And one of the things that's sweeping GE, even with the software, and it's spreading across all of our hardware thinking, is this notion we call fast works, on how we get multidisciplinary people to come together in a small one pizza, two pizza team, like everybody else talks about in Silicon Valley, to come and innovate on new solutions and go and action them.
Like a hackathon. Is it a hackathon? Is it a I heard quite a bit of that at a CIO summit this week. Group of designers.
We actually do hackathons.
Yep.
Yeah, we do hackathons in our software team, but we're also taking the same practices that have proven successful in software in Silicon Valley and applying it to hardware design. Wow. And when you think about smart manufacturing, 3D printing, now you can actually prototype parts very quickly. You can actually build new molds and parts and design and test things with customers and in machines physically faster than you could before. So all the things that we have applied in the world of software are applicable to hardware with the advent of smart manufacturing, 3D printing, and in fact we broke ground in power and water with an advanced manufacturing facility in Greenville, which will prototype all of these technologies.
We have a question from Twitter, and I'll ask you to answer it quickly because we're almost out of time.
Okay.
There's actually a lot that we need to cover yet. We could go another couple of hours, but we have about 5 minutes left.
That's what happens when you have a fascinating guest.
It's absolutely true.
On the show.
So Zachary Jeans asks, does GE have an internal process for developing new ideas, products, and so forth, like an internal Kickstarter? So it's very much connected to what you were just talking about.
Yes, and we have two ideas. One we call 10x internally, another one we call FastWorks, and these are ideas borrowed from the Lean Startup by Jeffries, right, and ideas borrowed from that book in terms of how we assemble small, quick teams and look at ideas and potentials that deliver 10x the value. So that's where the 10x program comes from, and GE Software, our CMO, incubated that idea and spread that across GE, and also FastWorks is another methodology that we use internally. So we have first incubated the methodology, we showed some proof points, now it's spreading across the entire business where the adoption has been great, where teams across, it doesn't matter whether they're in HR or in finance or in supply chain, these methodologies and techniques apply to coming up with new ideas. It may not be a customer-facing offering, but it could be an internal process efficiency or internal productivity. And when you're talking about a large company like GE, those small things add up to huge, meaningful outcomes, value, as well as delivery for our customers.
Ganesh, give us advice. The CIOs and CDOs, CMOs watching the show who are starting their digital transformation journey or they're in the middle of, what advice do you have for these business leaders to ensure some level of success?
Sure. So first thing is that if you're actually working in software, you're a developer, you're a GM, you're a product marketing person, whatever, you happen to be in the business of software, your next big opportunity is not in a software company or not a traditional software company. It's in companies like GE, which are transforming industries and businesses through use of software, which we call digitalization, right? And I believe that's the next big trend in 20 years for across every industry, across every business. So think transforming an industry and think digitalization, which is creating new value and new outcomes from digital assets, as opposed to just digitization, which is replacing atoms with bits. And when you think about digital, then go deeper. It's not just about digital marketing is absolutely important. It's the spearhead where you touch and interact with your customers. So digital customer engagement is very important, but don't stop there. That's just being a veneer. Go deeper. Look at opportunities to create digital solutions, digital software, or where is your app that accompanies your analog or your physical product. Think about those digital offerings. And also, more importantly, think about the culture of change you want in the business in terms of adopting agile, fast, lean methodologies in creating new outcomes, which transforms how you work internally.
So in 1 minute, because that's about what we have left. So
you're going to have to do 2 minutes because I have a very important question I left for the end. Very important. All right, go ahead.
Okay, well then in 15 seconds, so that Vala has time for his final question.
Very important question.
So what about that CIO, CMO, company executive? This is not a 15-second.
I know.
Longer than 15-second question.
As soon as you started asking, I'm like, great. Good luck with that. Can we have a tweetable answer, Ganesh, to this complex PhD thesis question Michael's about to ask? Maybe I should start with mine, and then you can formulate.
Okay. I can do this.
Okay, you can do this.
I can do this.
It is show 73. Go ahead.
All right. So since the challenge for many people that want to undertake this is not about technology, it is about the organization and the process and so forth. Any advice on that aspect of it for people who want to undertake the journey?
Yeah, so who want to undertake the journey, first and foremost, you need to have a believership about how digital can make you a new business. And a simple question to ask is, how do you become, you can have lots of interesting debates internally in your company about, is digital a revenue enabler, or is it about operational efficiency, or is it about marketing, or is it about creating new products? All of those are interesting questions to have a discussion on. Ask one question, which is, how do you become the most strategic partner to your customers? If you ask that question, then you immediately transcend boundaries of, hey, to become the strategic partner to my customers, to drive the outcomes that they care about, I need to provide a combination of products, services, hardware, and software as a complete solution. When you think about that, then it helps understand the journey that you've got to undertake and build a belief system around how you use digital and software. So it is not replacing, in many businesses, in GE, software doesn't eat a turbine, it doesn't eat a wind turbine, but software makes them smarter, it makes them brilliant. And our industrial internet drives new outcomes that machines can't simply by themselves cannot, right? So for the first time in history, we've got like intelligence being spread from, not just from humans to humans, but from humans to machines, and now from machines to machines, and back to humans. So when you think about becoming the most strategic partner for your customers, it helps set that priority for you.
Fantastic. And my final comment and question, we research our extraordinary guests, such as yourself, when we prepare for the show. I've read about your digital thought leadership, data and analytics, and your background and success, even at previous companies before you joined GE. And the most impressive thing that I saw during my research was you with a GoPro camera on a bike going about 200 miles an hour, like sideways. What is that all about?
Slower. It's not. My wife is watching, so it's really slow.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. It was about 150 miles an hour.
You were straight up. You weren't.
Can you just talk? What is that? That's pretty awesome. It looked way more than just a hobby. I mean, you were gunning down the racetrack.
Vala, his wife is watching.
I'm sorry, Mrs.
Mrs. Bell, we apologize.
So the way I talk about it, it's one of my motorcycling is one of my passions, and I have several motorcycles, and I ride them on a racetrack as a track day. I'm not racing. My wife is watching. I'm not racing. I'm just practicing good techniques, and I'm practicing them in a safe environment, which is a racetrack. There is no opposite traffic coming. There's lots of runoff areas, and traction is a guarantee because somebody went and swept the entire track. So I'm just out there practicing my, body positioning and turning technique and riding around. It's one of the most funnest things that I get to do, and it's again an example of how it has gotten safer with software over the last 10 years. A mere mortal like me couldn't ride a world superbike, so I ride an Aprilia, which is one of the fastest superbikes on the planet. Now, even me can twist the throttle because software manages lots of things and makes me look really, really smart.
You look awesome. You look like James Bond.
You look like a guy who's very safe. Mrs. Bell, you look really safe.
Yeah, I think after 73 shows, I may have a guest in trouble based on the question I asked.
Exactly. There you go. Glad to have you.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate it.
This is the last time we'll have Ganesh on the show.
No. We want you to come back very often. Yes. Well, this has been a fascinating discussion. We have to thank our guest today, Ganesh Bell, who's the Chief Digital Officer of General Electric Power and Water, as well as the General Manager of GE Software and Analytics.
Thank you very much, Ganesh. Fantastic show.
And Vala,
thank you, Michael. Thank you, Vala. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And everybody, I hope you'll tune in next week. We have a really interesting show next week. We have Charles Phillips, who is the CEO of Infor Software, together with his Chief Design Officer, and that's not the right title, but they're going to talk about the role of software design and good user experience and the importance of that to the business results and the customer outcomes, as Ganesh was talking about, in enterprise software. So join us next week, and hope everybody has a great week. Thanks. Bye-bye.